Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
All right, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday. Hopefully, you guys are blessed and doing well. We got two very exciting topics that we're going to jump into today. If this is your first time tuning in to the Latin Wealth podcast, the Latin Wealth platform, welcome. Glad to have you here. And if you guys have been tuned in or tapped in for a while now, shout out to you guys. One of the guys in our men's group, Jeremiah knows him. His name is Brandon. Shout out to Brandon. I was just talking to him the other day. He's like, bro, I have been listening to every single episode that you and Jeremiah put out. So shout out to you. Shout out to everybody
Shout
else
out to you, bro.
that's just been tapped in along the way in this journey. It's just been it's definitely been a journey, but it's definitely been exciting for us, the growth, and just we've been really enjoying this, right? We come on every single week. We don't miss a week for you guys. So if that sounds like something you guys want to be a part of, go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with somebody else. We're going to be talking about an article that came out on Saturday, and the topic of the article is Trump is pressured to make Puerto Rico independent to save America $617 billion. We're also going to be talking about Tesla a little bit, all right? So Tesla shares are down 15%, suffering steepest drop in 5 years. We're going to be talking a little bit about Tesla and Elon and whatnot. But before we do, my God, Jeremiah, how you feeling today? How you doing?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm feeling really, really good actually. We had a good conversation. This These are very interesting. Anything that applies to Puerto Rico, always I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I'm hyped to talk about it. So yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So, okay, this. I want to frame it up a little bit. So on Saturday, I'm sitting down looking for what to post on Latin Wealth, seeing what's interesting, what's going on in Latin America, and I seen this article by the Daily Mail, and at that time, I didn't see anybody else online post about it. So I'm reading about it, and the title says Trump pressured to make Puerto Rico independent to save America $617 billion. Instantly piqued my interest. And so a little bit more about this article. It says Donald Trump is being lobbied to make Puerto Rico an independent nation and save America taxpayers $617 billion, as I just said. And this was reported by dailymail.com. And it says at least two congressional offices are in possession of a 7-page draft um, on how the U.S. can help the island territory transition to being independent. So it's a little bit of a long article. I'll link it down below if you want to read the whole thing. But here are some highlights from the article. If the order was ever adopted, it would establish a 21-month timeline for the end of the birthright citizenship for Puerto Ricans. So essentially, um, I think the date was, I don't know the exact date, but pretty much anybody born in Puerto Rico after 2027, if this went into effect, they would not have the U.S. citizenship. They would lose that, right? Again, if this is put into place, this is not concrete or nothing. Any person born in Puerto Rico after, okay, this is when it is after December 31st, 2026 would not be eligible for the birthright citizenship. Um, the plan results in $617 billion in savings for the U.S. while providing Puerto Rico with the necessary resources for economic self-sufficiency. All right, so this was in the draft. It adds how Washington is projected to spend $1.3 trillion over the next 50 years in supporting Puerto Rico. In addition, up to $8.6 billion in disaster relief. So, should Trump adopt the action proposed in the document, there would be a decade-long plan to give Puerto Rico $36 billion every year for 20 years in a so-called Puerto Rico Transition Fund. Okay, so essentially what's going on, there was a document that was found that's saying, hey, over the next 50 years, we're going to be spending about $1.3 trillion in supporting Puerto Rico, in addition to 8.6. Now, what they're thinking is like, hey, we can save some money here. Again, around $617 billion we can save by allowing Puerto Rico to be a fully independent country. Now, they wouldn't just cut Puerto Rico off completely. They will put in a system where Puerto Rico will be receiving $36 billion every single year for the next 20 years. And again, a Puerto Rico transition fund. Okay. Before I give any thoughts and whatnot, Jeremiah, what were your thoughts when you seen this initially?
Where's that $36 billion going to go? Actually,
Yep. Yep.
that's where my mind went. Everyone, and it really doesn't matter. So there's three, and we've talked about this. There's three different groups in Puerto Rico that have three different beliefs. Okay. In case you haven't known, myself, Dean, Bad Bunny, right? We like independence. That's right. There's a group that likes that. Now, the group that doesn't get talked about, but I'll go to the other group. The other group is statehood, right? Which that has its benefits as well. Understood, right? So there's two opposite sides. The group in the middle is the group that always wins, though. That's the status quo. That means maintaining it the way that it is as a commonwealth or a protectorate of the United States. Now, the corrupt government and the corrupt, right? I mean, we talk about this all the time. We don't even know that the governor was elected. No one's seen election
Right.
results from this, right? Like, we haven't seen it. It doesn't exist. So, but whatever. Like, and so my initial thought is if there's no governance and no accountability, where does that $36 billion go? Like, who's actually controlling that 36? How is it distributed? What actual instruments or programs are going to be utilized as
Mhm.
conduits to send that money out? Because I mean, we see what's happening now with the lights and everything. Like, there's all this
Mhm.
stuff that's already in place, and so I think that there are going to have to be maybe 3 to 5 years previous to them actually doing this. They have to lay the infrastructure to be able to roll this money out and to make sure the money's actually going to go to what they're saying that it's going to go to. If not, at the end of those 10 years that they're talking about giving that money, right? At the end of those years, Puerto Rico could be in a much worse place than what it is right
For
now.
sure.
If
For
anybody
sure.
could imagine that, it could be in a horrible, horrible place. So, and we'd be on our own. So that's my thoughts. I want to know where that money's going and how it's going to be controlled. I want independence, but I've known for the longest time it's a gradual process. It'd be about a 15-year ramp,
Mhm.
right? Like there's because infrastructure, things like that, there's things that the United States needs to make sure are there. And there's things that they have an obligation to make sure they're because they've benefited off of Puerto Rico for over 100 years. So you have some obligation to make sure we're good before you just cut us off to save your taxes, essentially. Right. So
Yeah.
that's what I think. That's my whole
That
thought process
and
behind
that
it.
was one of my biggest thought process when I was reading this. I was like, yeah, I'm not a fan of this if they're just gonna cut us off and say, here's $36 billion every year for 20 years. Because literally what you just said, are we gonna have some policies into place? Like who's gonna be controlling the money? Like where is this gonna be going and whatnot? That just sounds like a disaster in itself.
Well, and what it does is it allows the government to wash their hands of Puerto Rico, but it also allows them to this the floating joke, right? That it was just
Mhm.
a pile of trash out in the water, right? It
Yeah.
allows them to make that factual. But it's because you didn't put things in place for accountability measures. So you let it
Hmm.
run rampant on purpose. You know it's already like, corrupting and trash. Like that like the corruption is high, high level. So if you put nothing in place and you just pump money into the government, you're
Hmm.
essentially imploding it, which is
Hmm.
that's what it seems like they're doing to me. It's like, hey, we'd save our money, right, by cutting you off, but we're gonna implode your entire island. We'll just pump money to corrupt people and just let it that's what I see. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's kind of what it looks like to me.
No, I see that as well. So yeah, I definitely see that as well. And the interesting part about this is when I posted about it, again, there wasn't too many articles out there. This was the only article. Even till this day, I think there's two or three other ones, but they pretty much just copied and paste what they said in the Daily Mail. And I posted it, and a lot of people were saying it was fake. It was fake news. And where they got that information from is from the Puerto Rican statehood advocates. So they made a video, and of course they're gonna say it's fake. Of course they are, right? They made a video saying, "Hey, this is fake. This isn't real." So forth, so forth. And so a lot of people have seen that, and they assume the whole article is fake in itself. So just throwing that out there. But the other thing I was thinking about is, what if Trump doesn't even want this to happen? Like, I can picture him not even wanting this to happen. Like, he wants to take over Greenland. He wants to take over the Panama Canal. I think he's in a mindset where he wants to expand. I don't think he wants to let go of Puerto Rico. And the number of America saving $617 billion, like, I want to know where that number is coming from. And I really want to know how much money Puerto Rico is making in the United States. That's the number that we got to look at.
It's a ton of money from the tourist industry to backdoor deals for billionaires that go there and save tax money and you work it, right? Like everything's a workaround. So it's it's probably $1 trillion. It's
Hmm.
probably pretty close to that, like just to be honest, right? And you're right. Trump may not that may not be something that he wants to do. As a matter of fact, I mean, maybe he would for the whole savings if it flipped politically,
Hmm.
right, to fit his narrative of what he's trying to do, trying to win votes or something like that. Like win votes. He can't run again. That's a whole nother thing as well because he's trying to
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
Anyway, so
I mean, look, at
there's
this point,
that.
anything is possible
Anything's
within.
possible. I'm not surprised by anything. I also think that Trump wants Cuba.
Yeah,
I think
and
he
that
wants
would.
Cuba back. Guantanamo Bay is already there. I think strategically he wants Cuba because of its position to Venezuela and the oil
Mm,
reserves that Venezuela has. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to, however, whatever. Um, but that's what I think is happening. So if he would let it go, I don't know. If it fit a narrative that he wanted, probably so, right? Because it's all about the game and how things look.
mm,
But this is very interesting. And of course, the
it is.
statehood people are not gonna they're gonna say that it's fake or however whatever. And I don't know that they control the media. I think status quo controls the media overly. But
What do you mean? What do you mean by status quo?
status quo is the middle group, that group that's
Hmm.
just leave them as they
Oh,
are.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't think like right wing Republican because that's what's in power right now in Puerto Rico. I don't believe that they don't want them to be a state because then you have to like literally take care of Puerto Rico and they gain a much higher level of importance and priority inside of the actual financial plan of the country. I don't think they want that, right? And then you don't want them to be independent because then that shows weakness and it's
Mm,
however whatever. So you just want them to stay as they are, just to
yeah.
protect her, not a state. We don't have to do anything for you really. We can toss you scraps and
Hmm.
so I think that honestly I believe that that's what's actually running the media.
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
yeah.
That is interesting. That is an interesting point because I did see Daily Mail. They posted another article about 6 hours ago. They're kind of reiterating their point. But if you read towards the end of it, maybe I can pull it up in a second. It pretty much said that in 2024, they were talking about the election in Puerto Rico. They said that 58% of the votes went to Jennifer Gonzalez, and that's not true. I think it was more 40%.
You remember the
Well, at
conversation
this
we
point,
had?
we don't know the exact numbers,
No,
but
no, no, but you
what
remember,
I'm saying,
yeah,
go ahead.
you remember that conversation, right? You
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
when we ran through the numbers and I said that it'll be something else that comes out later that incorporates those numbers
yeah.
that they were uncounted. There's that article.
That's probably what it is because then they went, okay, only 29% of people were independent, and then there was another random number that I would have to bring it up. Maybe I'll bring it up as we're talking right now, just to be let me see what bring it up real quick. In 2024, 29.57% of Puerto Ricans who voted said they would want independence with free association. So there you go. It says it right here, 29%. And then it says, while 0.82% said they would want independence without any conditions or links to the U.S. A vast majority at 58% want statehood for Puerto Rico. So, which is interesting because I forgot the name of the website, but the website that actually shows the total of the election has statehood at 40%, not 58.
That's the stuff we're talking about. It's it never stops, right? So we can't even get the reporting of numbers right because of the
Hmm.
corruption. And you telling me you're gonna pump, you know, billions of dollars
Hmm.
without anybody watching it or
Yeah,
set
yeah.
in
So
place to keep it
yeah,
accountable?
it's yeah. I don't know, man. Anyways, I just wanted to show this. It's not necessarily something that it's a huge deal, but it's interesting. It is a big deal, I should say. I shouldn't say it's not a huge deal. But the numbers are being manipulated for sure.
Like, I mean, like we said though, Chris, we don't even know if she was elected. No one ever officially
Yeah.
came back
No, yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
I was looking for like official, and it never happened. No one
Yeah.
ever came
Not
back
even
out.
what do you call it when man, I'm drawing a blank, but when they just had at the beginning of the year where the president they bring him in
Inauguration.
at the inauguration. They don't have something like that in Puerto Rico, right?
I mean, they do. Yeah, they do.
Mm.
But you can't make this stuff up, man. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't. Hey, whatever. Like they say, that's above my pay grade. I'm just, I'm just saying.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah,
Speaking about pay grade, Tesla and Elon Musk. All right,
man.
so Tesla sell off on Wall Street and testified on Monday with shares of the electric vehicle company sinking 15%, their worst day on the market since September 2020. On Friday, Tesla wrapped up a seventh straight week of losses, its longest losing streak since debuting on the NASDAQ in 2010. The stock has fallen every week since CEO Elon Musk went to Washington, D.C. Ever since he took that flight to D.C., the stock price has absolutely tanked. All right. So since peaking at $479 on December 17th, that wasn't too long ago. All right. Tesla shares have lost more than 50% of their value, wiping out upward of $800 billion in market cap. All right, Monday marked the stock's seventh worst day on the record. In addition, I just want to throw this out here a little bit. This whole thing with Elon, we just gotta be praying for everybody, man. That's my answer. Look, it says how is Elon Musk dealing with all this, right? So during an interview on Fox Business after hours on Monday, Musk was asked how he's managing his businesses. Where is he fulfilling the roles? Where is he bringing people on to help him out? And he said that he's doing it with great difficulty. And I actually have the clip of when he said this, and I'll share this. And it's I want to share this because just you looking at his body language, you can tell the man is stressed out. There's a lot going on. Um, but let me share this clip real quick. I'm gonna play this.
An income statement, and you know how to read a balance sheet. You've had some business experience. I'm kidding, but
Yeah.
you know about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really, I just don't want America to go bankrupt.
So it's a call to action. You're hearing a call to action.
Yeah.
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean,
But there's no turning back, you're saying.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually. So our savings at this point exceed $4 billion a day. Mm-hmm. So it's very significant.
You think you'll wind up getting to $1 trillion of
Yeah.
savings?
I mean, unless
I'll stop it there. And it's a 17-minute video, so you can watch the whole thing. That wasn't the whole conversation, but even like halfway through the interview, he was like, Elon Musk literally said, frankly, I don't even know why I'm doing this interview. He said, I don't even know why I'm here. So I bring all this up to say, and I'm gonna let Jeremiah get in here. I always remember something that Jeremiah said a long time ago. Like, he has so many different businesses, so many different things going on. If he can just hone in on one or two things, maybe you can elaborate on it, but you always say like it would turn things around.
I feel like he has a bandwidth. We spoke about that as well. How does Tesla progress forward? We were talking about last year, towards the end of last year, right? We were talking about how does Tesla fare in 2025? Well, it hasn't fared well because he's focusing on something he has no business in. Um, I, no disrespect to Elon Musk, he won't watch this or whatever, but if he does, if he comes up, I tell him to his face, like, you're a genius. I think you're probably one of the most brilliant people to ever live, like on earth, literally. I think he's brilliant. He's a brilliant person. The way he thinks, the way he comes up with stuff, but that's his bag. Like,
Yeah.
he's in his bag when he's being creative, when he's thinking about solving the world's problems scientifically, when he's thinking of engineering, when he's thinking of new inventions and place. That's when he's helping the United States and helping the world. What he's doing right now is not helping. Um, you have no experience in government. You have no experience in understanding the ramifications of what you're doing and the things you're cutting, how deeply you change the trajectory of people's lives. You have no experience in that. You have no idea what you're doing. He knows he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I could see it in you can see in his
Yeah.
body language.
Yeah. That's what
He's
I'm saying.
so lost.
Uncomfortable.
Like, he has no idea. He's like, well, I think we're like,
You
he's
you you basically
perplexed.
take you basically taking Michael Jordan out of playing basketball and you're putting him into the pickleball or something like completely like he doesn't belong
It
there,
ain't even
right?
baseball. Like, it ain't even, you ain't even having Michael play because actually, you look at Michael's batting average. He had a pretty solid batting average. I think it was like 220 or something like that. Like, actually very solid, but like, because it's Michael Jordan, right? No different if you put Kobe on the soccer field, he's gonna score
Hmm.
some goals. Like,
Hmm.
you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but it's not even a sport. Like, you're completely changing it. You're putting Michael Jordan in not even business because he was pretty good in business. Put him in something that's just off the wall, political commentary
Yeah.
podcast. That's what you're doing with Michael Jordan and expecting it to be right. Like, and so here's the problem. The problem is when you have a president who isn't qualified to be in the position that he's in. Trump should have never won anything. We all know that. It was a joke until it wasn't. When you have a president that can do that, it gives the credence or the belief to other people that they can do things they're not supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
Right? You're
Yeah.
not bred to. Well, that's why I like him. He's not a politician. Yeah, I understand. But then also, what that does is it alienates your allies, Europe, Canada, Mexico, trade war, China, real war. Because the president literally said, "I want any smoke you want to bring. Like, I want
Hmm.
whatever you want. That's what I want. I'm about what you're about."
Yeah.
China's president literally said, "I'm about what you're about. You want to go to
Nah, he
war?
not playing.
Go to war. You want to? I'll do whatever you want to do. We'll 5x it, right?" So this comes from people that shouldn't be in these positions.
Hmm.
They just shouldn't be. And people argue that the status quo of where we were with like Biden, Harris, I agree. Biden, we've said it. It wasn't good, but the status quo would have been better than where you're at now, right? Like,
Hmm.
even if we would have continued where we were, it would have been better than where we're at now.
Hmm.
Like, you're on the
Hmm.
brink of war with another major superpower. Your allies that you entered into the free trade agreement with, you don't have those relationships anymore. You've totally destroyed those relationships. Europe won't talk to you, right? And Elon is here ruining domestic.
Hmm.
And so, Chris, this is what I ask you. Have you seen proof of any of the stuff that he's talking about? You see numbers, but
Hmm.
have we seen proof of the things that he's telling us? Have you seen proof?
No, and so that's what he said in the interview. He said he posts his receipts, like you said, he posts the numbers, but not the proof.
Those aren't receipts.
Right.
And also, you can't understand the ramifications of what you do to generations of people if you affect the great grandparents. You don't know, right? The doctors, lawyers, right? People that have been cultivated because in 1941, 42, during the Great Depression, FDR started welfare and jobs and all the great programs, Social Security, all those things, right? So you don't know the doctors and lawyers and engineers and physicists that were created from their grandparents having that benefit. So you're not, because you're not,
He's out of
right?
touch.
Right. You're not in touch. You're not
Yeah.
aware because you don't do this.
I
You have no
think you,
business.
not to cut you off. I think you sent me the
Oh,
clip where they said that his company has over 100 contracts that's making them like $8 million or something crazy,
come on,
8
man.
million, $10 million a day.
Come on, man.
When you're making that type of money, man, you are completely out of touch.
You're out of touch. You have no idea.
And I'm
You
not
think
saying you shouldn't make that money,
no, no, I'm just saying
but you are securing the contracts while you're cutting other contracts for people like
you're cutting
myself.
the contracts to give your company the contracts. Like
Right.
it, come on, man. That's called conflict of interest. And so what I'm saying is how when I asked this 2 weeks ago, I'm gonna ask again. When does America admit that they made the wrong decisions, because now you're living with it? But when does that, like, Chris, when do you think that is?
And we
When do
just
people come
started.
back and they
I
be
don't
like,
know.
I,
We
I
just
did wrong?
we just started. I don't know. Like we just started. We still got I don't even know how many more days. Like uh, you know what I'm saying? Like we just started. So that's a good point. That's a great question. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
Things are things are choppy. I don't know if people remember in November when we talked about when Trump had just got elected, and I told you need to focus and be intentional. I'm gonna say this again today. Focus on you and your family. Focus on your immediate people, your company if you own one, things like that. Focus on being very intentional about the dollars that you spend, the decisions that you make, and the way that you interact with your brothers and sisters that you are trying to help elevate as well. This isn't a playtime. Like,
Mm.
you can't, certain decisions and things are being made, right, that America probably will never be able to come back from. Like, you just can't recover from certain things that you do to people. You alienate people, you mistreat them, you treat people in a
Yeah,
certain way, right? So we'll be living in a different world, and your business has to be able to
100%.
withstand global attacks of economy, of economic proportions. You have to, right, to deal with tariffs, to deal with all of these things, the shift of the dollar,
Mm.
all of these things. Your business has to be able to withstand that. Your family has to be able to withstand that. So be intentional, be well
Mm.
read, do your due diligence.
Do due diligence. Look, guys, if you guys found any value from this episode, if you enjoyed this episode, if you learned something from this platform, do us a huge favor, subscribe, like, share this with somebody else. We have all types of content on this platform. If you guys are not, if you guys like this, but maybe you want something else, we also have the interviews that come out as well. We just posted one on Friday
Super
with
dope.
with a couple showing the process on how they moved from Florida to Puerto Rico, buying, flipping, and all that stuff. So there's a variety of content that's going to continue to be on this platform. Subscribe, and let us know what you think down below about these different topics and some of the things that you want to hear. The Latin Wealth family. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace, guys.